Imagine this. You're 8 years old, sitting cross-legged on a cold kitchen floor. The air smells of burnt toast and cigarette smoke. Your parents' voices crackle through the wall like a misfiring radio. We can't afford it. You never listen. And your chest tightens. You reach for the cookie jar, your small hands trembling. The first bite is too sweet, almost sickening, but with each chew, the shouting fades. The sugar coats your throat. The crumbs stick to your fingers. And for a moment, the world softens. You don't know it yet, but this is your first addiction. Fast forward 20 years. You're hunched over your phone at 3 a.m., scrolling porn, gambling apps, or TikTok's infinite scroll, the modern cookie jar. Your heart races, your breath shallow, as you chase that same numbness. The screen's blue light etches shadows into your face, and a voice whispers, "Why can't you stop?" Here's the unsettling truth. Your addictions aren't random. They're hieroglyphs, ancient, urgent messages from the child you once were. Let me ask you a dangerous question. What if your vices aren't weaknesses, but survival strategies frozen in time? That bottle of wine, that binge, that compulsive swipe, they're not mistakes. They're pleas, echoes of a child screaming into a void where love was scarce. Safety conditional, and attention a currency doled out in crumbs. Consider this paradox. The very behaviors that destroy you now once saved you. Picture this scene. A toddler falls, scrapes her knee, and runs to her mother. But the mother is staring at her phone, numb from Xanax and her own unmet needs. The child's tears dry unsheltered. Years later, that girl discovers razor blades. The pain is sharp, clean, familiar, a perverse comfort. She doesn't know she's reenacting the original wound. If I bleed enough, will you finally see me? Addiction is a language. It speaks in the grammar of absence. Think of your earliest memory of loneliness. Maybe you hid in a closet, clutching a stuffed animal, while your parents argued. Maybe you learned to swallow tears because crying made your father leave the room. Now, you drink to mute the voice that says, "No one's coming." You binge Netflix to avoid the silence that still smells of that closet. You fuck strangers to feel arms around you, even if they're arms that don't care. Your addictions are marionette strings, tugged by hands long gone. Here's what society won't tell you. We're all addicts. Some of us just trade substances for subtler opioids, perfectionism, workaholism, spiritual bypassing. The CEO grinding herself into burnout is no different from the heroin addict. Both are chasing the dopamine hit that once made them feel enough for a parent's fleeting approval. But there's a deeper horror. The child you're trying to soothe is gone. You're pouring wine into a phantom's cup. Let's dissect the lie. Addiction is a disease. No, it's a memoir. Your compulsions are chapters written in the ink of unmet needs. The gambler chasing loss after loss? He's replaying the moment his father left. If I keep losing, maybe he'll come back to fix it. The gym rat sculpting his body into oblivion? Still that chubby kid praying, "Love me if I'm perfect." The brain doesn't forget. Every relapse is a regression, a crawl back to the scene of the crime. Try this experiment. Next time you crave your vice, pause. Let the urge swell until you feel in your teeth. Beneath the hunger, you'll find a memory. The click of a lock as your parent left you alone. The taste of soap from when they wash your mouth out for crying. The sting of "I'm busy" when you reach for a hug. Your addiction is a time machine. It doesn't take you forward. It drags you back. We've been taught to hate our addictions, to wage war against them. But what if they're not enemies? What if they're the only friends that little kid had? That bottle held you when no one else would. That screen-numbed loneliness when your crib felt like a coffin. The real question isn't, "How do I quit?" It's, "What did this save me from?" Imagine digging up a time capsule buried by your childhood self. Inside, you find a candy wrapper. This made the yelling stop. A torn comic book. This kept the dark away. A razor blade. This made me feel real. Your addictions are love letters from a child who didn't know how to say, I'm hurting. But here's the rub. The strategies that kept you alive then are killing you now. That sugary numbness that shielded you from your parents' divorce is now diabetes. Those video games that drowned out your brother's bullying now cost you jobs. The survival mechanism has become the trap. You're a prisoner, not of substances, but of stories. In the next section, we'll decode these stories. You'll discover how Freud's repetition compulsion forces you to relive childhood wounds through your vices, why Carl Jung claimed addiction is his spiritual thirst, and how Nietzsche's concept of eternal recurrence explains why you keep circling the same pain. The child is still speaking. Will you finally listen? You're 7 years old. Your father slams the door, leaving for the last time. You press your ear to the wall, listening to your mother sob. Decades later, you date emotionally unavailable men, binge drink when they leave, and replay abandonment like a scratched record. This isn't self-sabotage, it's revision. Freud called it Wiederholungszwang, repetition compulsion, the mind's desperate attempt to rewrite history. If I reenact the trauma enough times, maybe this time I'll control the ending. But you're not in charge here. The child who froze that day still holds the reins. Addiction is repetition with chemistry. The gambler doesn't want money. He wants the almost of his father's almost love. The cocaine addict chases not the high, but the moment before the crash, the suspended breath between his mother's promise and her betrayal. Carl Jung wrote, "Nothing has a stronger influence on children than the unlived life of their parents. Your mother's swallowed rage became your eating disorder. Your father's drowned sorrows became your alcoholism. You inherited their shadows. The shadow self isn't a metaphor. It's a living archive. That urge to cut? It's your grandmother's silent scream during her arranged marriage. Your porn addiction? Your great-grandfather's stifled sexuality in Puritan soil. Generational pain doesn't dilute. It concentrates." Jungian analyst Marion Woodman observed that addicts are starving for the divine. But what happens when a child's first encounter with God is a parent's withheld affection? They learn to worship lack, to genuflect before the empty bottle, the empty bed, the empty phone screen. What if some day or night a demon were to say to you, "This life as you now live it, you will have to live once more and innumerable times more"? Nietzsche's nightmare is the addict's daily reality. You rise, relapse, repent, repeat, an Ouroboros of shame. But Nietzsche wasn't condemning you. He was issuing a challenge. What if you had to relive this exact life forever? Would you despair or find meaning in the pattern? The alcoholic who hates his father becomes him. The workaholic who vowed, "I'll never be poor," starve herself emotionally. You don't escape the cycle, you become it. Arthur Schopenhauer believed humans are slaves to the will, an insatiable life force that demands suffering. Your will to addict isn't self-destruction. It's the perverse logic of a child who learned pain love. A woman's alcoholic father only hugged her when drunk. Now, she dates abusive men, chemically recreating the cocktail of cortisol and oxytocin that once meant safety. Her addiction isn't to men. It's to the certainty of harm. Schopenhauer's will ensure she'll choose familiar hell over unknown heaven. Jean-Paul Sartre coined bad faith, the act of pretending you have no choices. The smoker says, "I can't quit," but means, "I won't confront why I started." The original sin, age 5, you asked for help. They said, "Stop crying." So you learn to pharmacy yourself. Now, you pop SSRIs to mute the child's howl. You're not depressed. You're in existential revolt against a lie that needing help is shameful. Viktor Frankl survived Auschwitz by finding purpose in suffering. Modern addiction is Auschwitz of the soul, a genocide of meaning. The gamer playing 18-hour sessions isn't lazy. He's trying to control a universe after growing up with a schizophrenic mother whose moods changed hourly. The workaholic isn't ambitious. She's building a fortress against her childhood poverty. Every addiction is a misplaced quest for meaning. Now the twist. Your pain has been commodified. Social media. Infinite scroll mimics neglectful parents. Keep performing. We'll love you, maybe. Pharma industry. Adderall for the boy who wasn't enough. Opioids for the girl who was too much. Wellness culture. $200 trauma workshops repackage what grandmothers once healed with lullabies. The algorithmic parent. Just like your mother's intermittent affection, Instagram rewards you randomly. A like here, silence there. Slot machine psychology. Variable reinforcement. You're not addicted to phones. You're addicted to finally feeling seen. When a baby cries unmet, their brain floods with cortisol. Over time, this wires them to seek any dopamine hit to avoid that void. Fast forward to adulthood, porn addiction, reenacting attachment trauma through pixelated intimacy, shopping addiction, trying to buy the nurturance never received, perfectionism, Stockholm syndrome with critical inner parent. Modern society pathologizes the soul's rebellion, the mystic seeking vision through psychedelics, addict, the lover who craves fusion sex, codependent, the artist drinking to access creativity, alcoholic. We've medicalized transcendence, that urge to dissolve into music, sex, or substances. It's a child's remembered unity with the womb, a home you've been gaslit into forgetting. In the Andes, they say the grandparents eat sour grapes and the grandchildren's teeth ache. Science confirms this. Epigenetics. Childhood trauma alters gene expression, passing anxiety to offspring. Attachment styles. Your great-grandmother's postpartum depression, your fear of intimacy, cultural memory. Slavery's legacy lives in Black American stress-related addictions. You're not healing for yourself. You're healing the ghost in your DNA. In the next section, we'll trace how these roots bear poison fruit. You'll witness addiction's covert reign, how it's reshaped your brain's architecture, turned your relationships into reenactments, and made modernity itself a collective relapse. The child's cry echoes through generations. Will you answer? A child's brain is a galaxy forming. Every hug, every lullaby, every attuned gaze from a caregiver sparks synaptic supernovae. But when love is inconsistent, a mother's smile one moment, her vacant stare the next, the child's neural pathways wire for survival, not thriving. If your cries were met with silence, your brain learned that peace comes only when you numb the need. Fast forward to adulthood. Healthy attachment feels like suffocation. Stability bores you. You crave the jagged highs and lows of addiction because they mirror the chaotic love you knew. The prefrontal cortex, a neglected child, resembles that of a combat veteran. Hypervigilant, overreacting to perceived abandonment. The amygdala swells, a hair-trigger alarm system. Serotonin receptors atrophy from disuse. You don't have an addiction, you have a disability. A brain crippled by the very strategies that kept it breathing. You swipe left on kind faces. You fuck people who treat you like furniture. You pick friends who replicate your family's dysfunction. This isn't bad luck, it's unconscious pattern matching. A man whose father was a charismatic narcissist becomes a cult leader's perfect disciple. The dynamic feels off, but right, a perverse homecoming. His addiction isn't to the cult, it's to the familiar poison of conditional approval. Secure relationships feel wrong to the traumatized brain. The calm of mutual care triggers existential dread. Where's the shouting? Where's the danger? So you cheat, pick fights, relapse. Anything to restore the normal chaos of childhood. Your childhood voids have been mapped, mined, and sold back to you. Dating apps. Gamify your abandonment trauma with infinite swipes. Match equals daddy's home. Fitness trackers. Turn body shame into subscription revenue. 10,000 steps equals worthiness. Beauty industry. Sell $200 serums to fill the hole where parental admiration should have been. Just as Victorian factories kept workers docile with gin, big tech peddles digital pacifiers. TikTok for the love-starved. OnlyFans for the touch-deprived. Your deepest hunger is their growth metric. You've tried it all. AA, therapy, meditation apps. You're sober, but empty, dry drunk, white-knuckling sanity. Why? Because you replace one addiction with another. The addiction to being healed. The wellness trap. Yoga becomes punishment for the body that wasn't protected. Journaling becomes obsessive rumination dressed in bullet points. Therapy becomes another performance. See? I'm trying. Love me now. Gabor mate S warning. Not all addictions are rooted in trauma, but all traumas create addiction. Even your recovery can become a trauma reenactment. Another plea for the parent therapist's approval. Your unborn children already carry the seeds of your struggle. Epigenetic time bomb. A study of Holocaust survivors' descendants found altered stress hormones. Grandchildren inheriting grandparents' terror. Your vices today sculpt your lineage's neural architecture tomorrow. A mother stops drinking but remains emotionally absent, replicating her mother's neglect. Her daughter develops orthorexia. Control through purity. Another addiction in saints' clothing. The cycle. Neglect.addiction.neglect.addiction. After decades of substance abuse, the brain's reward system isn't just damaged, it's redefined. The rat park experiment revisited. In the 1970s, rats isolated in cages chose morphine-laced water over food until death. But rats in Rat Park, a thriving community, ignored the drug. Modern humans are the isolated rats. Social media, urban sprawl, and eroded community bonds have recreated the cage. Your addiction isn't a choice. It's a logical response to an inhuman world. When society fails to initiate youth into meaning, they'll find rites of passage elsewhere. Gangs. Substitute families offering belonging through violence. Extremist groups provide purpose to those starved of legacy. Conspiracy cults fill the God-shaped hole with paranoid certainty. Carl Jung knew, modern man is neurotic because he lacks mythology. Your addiction is a botched initiation, a mangled quest for the sacred that society no longer provides. You've built your identity around the struggle. The relapses, the recovery posts, the martyrdom of fighting demons. But who are you without the war? The paradox. Healing threatens annihilation. If you quit, you must face the terrifying truth that the parents you've been trying to fix were never coming. That the child you're saving is already gone. You're not addicted to the substance. You're addicted to the story. In the next section, we'll ignite the rebellion. You'll discover how to rewrite neural code through radical self-reparenting, why Nietzsche's amor fati, love of fate, frees you from the victim narrative, and how to alchemize addiction into art, activism, or ancestral healing. The child's cry is a summons. Will you answer? You spent years battling your addictions, white-knuckling sobriety, shaming relapses, treating your desires like enemies to execute. But what if the war itself is the problem? Rebellion begins when you lay down arms and ask your addiction, what are you trying to tell me? Imagine standing in a prison cell, pounding the walls, only to realize you're holding the key. The child who built this cell didn't trap you. They were trying to survive. Now it's time to negotiate. Your mother forgot your 7th birthday. Your father mocked your tears. But today, you hold the power to rewrite the story. Neuroalchemy exercise. 1. Identify the trigger. Next time you crave a drink, pause. Feel the child's terror beneath the urge. 2. Dialogue. Ask internally, how old do I feel right now? Often 5, 8, 12. 3. Intervene. Speak to that age. I see you. You're safe now. I'll handle this. A cocaine addict realized his binges peaked on Sundays, the day his father left. He began hosting inner child Sundays. Pancakes, cartoons, stuffed animals. 6 months later, his cravings dissolved. The cocaine was never the problem. It was a grieving 5-year-old screaming for a goodbye hug. My formula for greatness is asterisk or more fatty. That one wants nothing to be different. Not forward, not backward. Nietzsche's call to love your fate isn't surrender, it's alchemy. Your addictions as fractal art. The alcoholic's bottle contains her grandmother's silent songs. The gambler's dice hold his refugee ancestors' desperate bets for survival. What if your vice is the raw material for your masterpiece? Historical rebellion. Billie Holiday channeled childhood sexual trauma into jazz that cracked the nation's spine. Fyodor Dostoevsky transmuted gambling addiction into The Gambler, exposing the soul's roulette. Frida Kahlo painted her chronic pain into surreal visions that redefine beauty. Your turn. A Cherokee parable tells of 2 wolves battling inside us. One light, one dark. The winner? The one you feed. But Jung adds, the shadow contains gold. Exercise addiction as ally. 1. Name your addiction's positive intent. You tried to protect me from abandonment. 2. Thank it. Write a letter. Dear heroine, I know you wanted to numb the loneliness. 3. Negotiate. What healthier mission could fulfill this purpose? A recovering alcoholic discovered her drunk self was the only time she felt free. She joined a circus, swinging trapeze to reclaim that wildness. Sober. Your brain isn't hardwired. It's clay. Studies show mindfulness can thicken the prefrontal cortex in 8 weeks. But how you focus matters. Meditate on safe touch. Recall one moment of childhood safety, a teacher's hand on your shoulder, a pet's fur. Re-imprint the nervous system. Rehab rituals. Replace using routines with sacred acts. Brew tea as meticulously as you prepared needles. Light candles where you once lit cigarettes. Body sovereignty. Dance to reclaim skin as yours, not a battleground. The paradox. Healing isn't about erasing trauma. It's about expanding your capacity to hold it. In Ghana, the Akan people perform ancestral return rituals, speaking unresolved traumas into river currents. Science now echoes this. Writing letters to abusive parents never sent reduces cortisol levels by 28%. How to conduct a soul retrial. 1. Subpoena the ghosts. List every hurtful ancestor. 2. Testify. Write their crimes and your inherited pain. 3. Verdict. I acquit myself of your sentence. I return your shame. Burn the paper. A woman plagued by self-harm traced her urge to a great-grandmother forced into foot binding. She ritualistically wrapped her own feet in red silk, then cut it instead of her skin. The compulsion stopped. Addiction thrives in isolation. Ancient cultures healed through communal rites. Modern recovery requires curated kinship. Trauma-informed communities. Seek those who celebrate your relapses as data, not failures. Reverse engineering trust. If touch triggers you, volunteer at animal shelters. If voices do, join choirs to relearn harmony. Legacy projects. Plant trees for the child you're healing. Write lullabies for grandchildren you'll nurture differently. The Underground Railroad of the soul. You're not just saving yourself. You're a station on the path for others. Rebellion isn't a cure. It's a covenant. I will no longer punish the child for the parent's crimes. You'll slip, you'll rage at the work. But in those moments, when you choose to comfort instead of condemn, you become the ancestor future generations will thank. In the final section, we'll confront the ultimate truth, that your addictions were never a life sentence, but a lineage's cry for resurrection. The child isn't in the past. They're waiting in the future. You are standing in a cathedral of your own making. The stained glass windows depict scenes from your childhood, the slammed doors, the empty beds, the silent meals. Sunlight filters through, casting fractured colors on the altar where you've knelt for decades, praying to gods of numbness and escape. But now you see it. Altar is empty. The gods were never there. Your addictions were not a failure. They were the bravest prayer a child could muster. All this time, you believe your vices separated you from your true self. The opposite is true. They are the breadcrumbs leading you home. The alcoholic's bottle contains the tears she wasn't allowed to cry. The gambler's dice hold the chaos he needed to feel alive. The anorexic's hunger is a fast she began at age 6, starving for visibility. Your addiction is a child's SOS, fossilized into compulsion, the part of you that refused to die. Physics confirms what mystics knew. Time isn't linear. Your traumatized child self exists now, not as a memory, but as a parallel reality bleeding into this moment. When you binge, you're not reliving the past. You're time traveling to comfort the child in their eternal now. A man who hallucinated his deceased father during meth binges underwent psychedelic therapy. In the session, he met his 8-year-old self holding a teddy bear. I thought I was running from Dad, he realized, but I was running to me. You are both the orphan and the savior. Time travel stories warn. Kill your ancestor, and you erase yourself. But here's the secret. To heal your addiction, you must become the ancestor. Imagine your great-grandmother, 12 years old, scrubbing floors in a country she didn't choose. She hums a lullaby to survive. That melody lives in your cravings. Now, rewrite the score. Smoke weed? Sing her lullaby instead. Crave chaos? Plan her garden. Hate your body? Dance her unlived youth. Addiction dissolves when the past is no longer a prison, but a foundation. Your brain's plasticity isn't just a scientific fact. It's a metaphysical promise. Studies show that visualized nurturing, imagining holding your child self, releases the same oxytocin as physical touch. You can retroactively love yourself into wholeness. 1. Recall a craving's peak moment. 2. Visualize your current self walking into that childhood scene, the closet, the empty house, the hospital bed. 3. Whisper, I'm here, I'll stay. 4. Watch the craving unravel. Neurons that fire together, wire together. You're not just changing your brain, you're altering the past neural imprint. In Japanese kintsugi, broken pottery is repaired with gold, not to hide the cracks, but to highlight their beauty. Your addictions are the gold. The cocaine that nearly killed you taught you the body's sacredness. The porn addiction revealed your hunger for transcendent intimacy. The workaholism gifted you the stamina to now build a legacy. Nietzsche redicts, you must have chaos within you to give birth to a dancing star. Your chaos isn't a flaw, it's supernova fuel. You've been told to heal your inner child. This is a lie. The child isn't in you. You are in the child. They are not a ghost to be exorcised, but a deity to be integrated. Their rage becomes your boundaries. Their fear becomes your intuition. Their need becomes your compassion. A recovering heroin addict opened a shelter for homeless teens. I don't help them, she says. I sit with a girl I was over and over until she believes she's worth saving. Healing is a myth. Communion is the truth. Every time you choose presence over numbing, you send a shockwave through time. Your sober breath oxygenates your ancestors' lungs in their graves. Your self-hug loosens a noose around your descendants' throats. Your laughter in the mirror becomes your mother's first sound in the womb. Quantum physics meets karma. You're not just changing your life. You're editing the human genome's trauma code. At the edge of your addiction, there's a door. Open it, and you'll find a feast table set with foods your child self-craved, a blank genealogy book waiting for your story, a parade of future faces, your great-grandchildren's children cheering. They're not applauding your sobriety. They're celebrating that you showed up, that you stayed, that you turned the family curse into a compass. Your addiction was never yours. It was a baton passed through generations, slick with sweat and blood, begging, run farther than we could. The race ends when you stop running. When you plant yourself in the now and whisper to the child, "We're home." The screen fades, the video ends, but somewhere in your cells, in the gaps between heartbeats, a child-sized relief. They've been heard. Now the choice is yours. Will you make that side of the prologue to a new story? The ancestors await your answer. If you find these stories interesting, please take time to subscribe to this channel. Hit the like button and the notification bell to be informed when any video is arrived. Share this content with your friends. This will cost 10 seconds from your time, but it means a lot for us. Your support is crucial in pushing us to produce more and generate more videos. Thank you.